Have you ever felt as though you're doing all of the things, family, work, you even get your workouts in, but you are not moving any closer to where you want to be? This week, I'm going to talk you through the exact principles that take us from simply surviving or accepting that as a standard to thriving, truly thriving as a way of living, not for the one-off occasion, not for, the weekend or the holiday, thriving as a way of life at any stage of life, in any season, at any age. Ladies, welcome back to the Nicola Graham Podcast. I feel as though I've not recorded a podcast in ages. I have, obviously, record them every week, but so much has happened in the past week. I don't know, my perception of time maybe has weirdly shifted. Last week's recording seems an age ago, but thank you so much to everybody who continues to listen and who listened to last week's, because I think that that's been our most popular episode so far. We spoke all things ADHD on last week's episode with the amazing Kate, who is Bluebird, the neuro coach online. If you have listened and you have reached out and you have sent a message, I really appreciate all of the feedback. It kind of ties into what I'm going to talk about today. It's that need to be heard, and for our struggles and our wins and our everyday life to actually be normalised. It's been a huge week. It's been a huge 2 weeks, actually. My anecdote, my little share for this week, my unfiltered, is just going to be a reflection of my own past week. I finally got something off the ground and into reality, which is the Thriving Women community. Ladies, I cannot tell you how long this has been just an idea in my mind. And it's been sort of a couple of months in the actual, we are taking actual steps to launch this. And it is at the moment, it's a platform which we still have so much that we want to add and improve and tweak. But it really was a case of get past everything needing to be perfect, Nick, and just put it out there. The most important thing, the biggest value is connection and community, hence Thriving Women. We need a space to be able to communicate with each other and to take down these pedestals that we put people on and to normalise our struggles and to celebrate our wins. I actually posted on my social media the other day. It was just a little clip from a Stephen Bartlett podcast, and he was chatting with Simon Sinek, and Simon Sinek poses the question, to Stephen Bartlett. I imagine if you go through your phone book and you list how many friends that you've got who would genuinely be there to support you if you were struggling. If everything broke down today, how many people in your phone book would truly want to support and help you and be all hands on deck, and nothing would be an issue, and they would pick you up. I then want you to go through that list of friends and count how many of them would show that same support when you are winning. And Simon Sinek rightfully said, I imagine you could cut that list in half, because we've all got the people who want to help us when we're down and when we're struggling. But when we're winning, that list, it gets smaller and smaller. And it really resonated. I don't know if anybody listening to this is nodding away, but for me, that resonated. And so the community, Thriving Women, we need a space where it's safe and it's encouraged to speak about the things that we're proud of and the things that we're doing well, no matter how small or how big it is. Because when we talk about thriving and staying in our own lane and building that mental resilience and building that self-belief and that self-trust, we have to get comfortable acknowledging the things that we're doing well. We have to get comfortable talking about the things that matter to us and that we're proud of. So this community has really been born out of that. In the last 12 months, in the last couple of years actually as an online coach, but certainly in the last maybe, 12 to 24 months, the way in which my online coaching has gone and the way in which I work with my clients, it's very much personal development on every level. So yes, it is getting in amazing shape. It is training your body, it's training your mind, it's getting the nutrition locked in, it's setting those boundaries, it's, raising those standards. But ultimately, what I realise, what I see as a coach, when any new client comes on board, and I've seen this in the women's circles that we've done at the retreats, the first thing that is needed as women, we need to be heard. We need to be acknowledged that, like, it's not laziness. It's not my lack of wanting to do things differently. I'm just struggling. Life is busy. I've now become a carer for my parents. My kids are, growing, going through struggles, sleep regressions, whatever it is. Work has gone crazy. I'm trying to maintain a level of confidence so that when I show up in front of my husband, I feel at my best self, and everything around me is just changing and it's constant, and I am the anchor for everything. And actually I just need a moment to reset. That's the point at which I would say clients come to me. And so the initial message, the initial reach out is, I just want to lose weight. Just want to lose weight and tone up. Spoken about this on here before. And we get to the crux of, why do you want to lose weight, and why do you feel that maybe you've gained weight in the first place? And a lot of the time it is just that we've had no place to speak about what we're struggling with, to get genuine support and advice, okay? Because we don't need more people just affirming back to us that, yeah, it is challenging, it is struggling. Let's have a good old moan and go for a glass of wine and that'll solve everything. Like, we need genuine support, accountability, advice, sometimes friendship, or just genuine connection. But we also need a place where we can celebrate when we do manage to get into our stride and we are doing things well and we are showing up for ourselves in a way that might feel so small. It doesn't matter big or small. If you're already inside of the community, turn on notifications. I'll interject with this because I am replying back to the comments. The first thing that I've sort of like encouraged everyone to do is leave me a quick brief. Let me know who you are. Like, this is a genuine, this is a place to, you don't need to have a membership to simply connect. But what you will get inside of the community is a guarantee that everyone in there is we're all after the same thing. We want to get out of survival mode. We want to understand how to thrive. Some of us are feeling a bit lost, maybe a bit lonely when it comes to the journey, because the people around us they're not on the same journey as us. Maybe they're not going through the same hormonal shifts. They don't have the same values. They don't want to create the same boundaries. They don't want to put such a high value on improving health or whatever it might be. And so instantly you are pooled with a community of women who get it. Like, I cannot stress this enough. So I've been replying back to the intros and maybe asking a couple of questions. But I want to talk about, on this week's episode, for the benefit of those of you ladies who are inside of thriving women and those who are not. Like, let's talk about what it actually looks like to raise our standards. So, and I think I maybe nailed down maybe 7 core values, but I'm going to touch on 4 or 5 of them today. First of all, to kind of break this down, is that thriving, ladies, the word thriving, it kept coming back to me, and I was thinking in my mind, there's got to be an alternative word to this, because I feel as though I see it and that might be in the universe, giving me a sign. But also I was thinking, is this word so overused? But honestly, when I tried to think of an alternative, there was nothing that embodied exactly what it is that I think we're all capable of, which is thriving on every level. And, waking up with a spring in our step, with good energy, with clarity, with focus, with good relationships, with high self-worth, in great physical fitness, great mental strength, able to show up at work. I'm not trying to create or paint a picture here that is, maybe sounding unrealistic, but I truly, genuinely believe that as women, we've got the opportunity to thrive. But there are a few key principles that I'm going to go through here that I believe that we've got to be willing to tap into and lean into. And sometimes it feels uncomfortable to do. So we're going to do it together. Know that you are not alone in this. And, as a mum of 2 girls, I think what an amazing place it would be if this was our focus. If our generation, if this was our focus and we were to pass this down to the generation before us, we would change the experience for our kids and the women before us. We would change their experience growing up. And we know that that's like, we've got the opposite end of the spectrum now going on with this whole skinny jab and this pressure once again, like this trend to be skinny is sort of like kicked back in, which is really dangerous. So I really want to offer an alternative perspective to what it is to thrive, because it's not a dress size, it's not a scale weight. That's what we think is going to be accepted by everyone else. But ladies, it's time to stop worrying about what everyone or anyone else thinks, about trying to be accepted, or trying to get back to a previous version of ourselves even. And it is time to actually own our story, where we're at now. Like, own the story, the journey that you've been on, and where you want to get to, and to show ourselves what we're made of. I say this to my kids all of the time when we talk about grit and determination. And, I'll say to my little girl when she's going to gymnastics and she's doing a comp or whatever it might be, and I'll say, show yourself what you're made of. Don't show me. I know what you're made of. I know what you're capable of. Show yourself what you're made of. And I hope that hits and that lands with her and with you. Because we know, we all know, I think, deep down, that we are made of more. We are made of sturdy stuff. If we could only just get away from like the negative office chat, or this, energy drain over here, or these responsibilities that really are nothing to do with me, but I just keep taking ownership for because it keeps the peace, or whatever it is. If we could step away from that and actually just prioritize our own needs first, we would thrive. We would absolutely thrive. And those that matter most to us, whether it's our children, our partners, our colleagues, whatever, like, they would feel the benefit and impact. They will feel the benefit and impact. But most importantly, the way that we live, the way that we experience life will change from survival mode to thriving. Of course, we're going to have days when we feel in survival. I think, we've got to be realistic. That's also a normal part of the journey, but it needs to be an exception to the norm, not the norm. Okay. Thrive values in action. And I want to frame this almost like a mindset shift for you all if you're listening to this, because it is, a lot of this is our perception. And the first one is strength and building self-trust. Now, that is strength in our physical body and also mentally. And on this self-trust piece, it's more so, but I'll give you an example, okay? How many of you, when you maybe start a new fitness journey, you start a diet, you have a day off plan, and you feel as though the wheels have fallen off? Like, it's instant panic mode. Oh my gosh, I'm going back to old habits. I'm so not cut out for this. Why can't I do this? The overthinking, the internal chatter just kicks in and amplifies, because what we are lacking is we're lacking trust in ourselves to go, it's fine. It's fine that I've had a day off plan. I know where I am. I know what my standards are, and I'll just get back to my usual standard tomorrow. I'm speaking from experience on this, because this is part of the work that I do with my clients, building self-trust. You have got to be able to trust yourself that you are going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to do it. Come win, rain or shine. You're going to be able to do it when curveballs are thrown. That doesn't mean every day is going to look perfect. Far from it. It just means that when there's a bit of a setback, or even an intentional weekend, weekday, whatever it is, off plan, you trust yourself enough to know this isn't the undoing of me. This is not the demise of my attempt to get in shape. This is part of life and living. And I trust myself to know that I'm going to suck it up and get back to business tomorrow. But whilst I'm in this moment, day off plan, social occasion, whatever it might be, I'm going to enjoy. And it takes practice. Self-trust takes practice. A lot of it and a lot of what, I talk about is mindset. Recognition. The first thing that I noticed in the retreats that I've done in the last 12 months is just our need to be recognised in currently where we're at in the journey, as I've just spoken about. Maybe what we've gone through, a little bit of our, back history, because we like to tell ourselves that we just don't have any discipline or willpower, or, we're chocoholics, or whatever it might be. I don't know why we put these labels on ourselves. It's really unjust. A lot of the time I speak to women and they've been going through a lot. I've had a client check in this week, and she's had 2 bereavements in her family in the last couple of weeks. And she's checked in and she said, I haven't had the week that I'd planned. I know we should have done things differently, but we've had a bereavement. And I was like, whoa, stop. You've had a bereavement like this. It's life-changing for a lot of women. It's life-changing because it alters now the dynamics of everything. your family, your relationships, because a member of the family has just passed. And so, yeah, some of those goals that we put in play for this week have had to just, be put on pause for a moment. But are we still checking off the non-negotiables? Are you still taking care of you? And sometimes, again, that taking care of you looks different in different scenarios. But I think the recognition that I'm getting to is recognising the progress that you're making before you see it on the scales at times. I'm going to share this client story actually because I think it personifies this brilliantly. Again, this is the privilege of the work that I get to do. So I was working with a lady, it must have been maybe it was 2 years ago, 12 months ago now. And she had this big fat loss goal. But ultimately, she didn't recognise herself. She said, I sit at my laptop all day. I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I'm busy. I'm like dependent upon in work. And I'm just sitting eating chocolates basically all day to soothe the stress that I'm feeling in work. And I'm not moving and I don't know where to start. And when I did try and get myself to the gym, I went to this crazy class and it was a young lad taking the class and I ended up with a crazy injury that set me back to my lower back. So that scared the life out of me. So going back to the gym is just a no. And I don't recognise myself. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. I never get on photographs. I don't make conversations at the school gates because, let's be honest, I just want to get back home to my little bubble. And I'm trying to change, but it's just not working because that internal narrative it's just coming over me all of the time and just almost like reinforcing the I'm not enough and I've put on so much weight and I can't do this. And so we started working together. That was the point that she started at. And she has lost all of the weight and more. Honestly, like upwards of 60 pounds she's lost. But what she's gained in that process is unbelievable. Like self-trust, self-worth, self-confidence. Self-confidence is on a new level, by the way. Obviously, it's improved the relationship with her husband, as you can imagine, ladies. Like, let's be very honest. We know, don't we? We know it impacts our relationship when we don't feel good in ourselves. We can be sure, we can be, a bit snappy. We don't really want to dress up, let alone get undressed. But the recognition, and I shed a tear reading this check-in because I get quite invested with my clients because it is a journey that they're going on. And she just recalled this, like, win of the week. And it was that she'd gone to a water park with her son. And she just casually puts this in the check-in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why did we not talk about these things? And she said, do you know what? We go to this water park and we've been going for years. It's like my son's favourite thing to do. But I never get in. I never get in. And I just got in last week. And there's a big like water fountain thing and it tips water on you. And I always see my husband and my son getting under it. And my son loves it because you get soaked and it's just, it's loads of fun. It's the anticipation that the water's going to tip on your head. And this week, I could get emotional recalling this story because I can't even imagine this feeling. She said, this week I got under the water fountain and I've never laughed so hard. She said, I felt so carefree. And it was just the best time with my son. And I'm so glad that I got to share that memory with him because it's something that lights him up. And he was so proud that I was there and he was so happy that like mummy was in. And it was just a massive moment for her and it was her win of the week. Bear in mind, she'd lost weight, she'd done all the other things. None of that even mattered. The biggest win was that she'd got onto this water fountain with her son finally. And I was like, that's it. That's the exact recognition when you recognize how far you've come and the progress that you've made and the direction that you're going in that means nothing to do with the scale weight. And you'll hear me talk about this a lot in that the scale will move, the body fat will drop, your healthier self, it will align when you are doing the things that put you in a healthier position. When you follow a healthier way of living, so not the perfect diet, not the perfect workout, not the perfect environment, but when you are just daily decisions, one after the other, following a path of a healthier way of living, mark my words, the weight is going to come down, the healthier version of you is going to line right up. But what happens in creating this lifestyle, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm recognizing as I'm watching this back that I talk with my hands so much. But if you are invested in actively living a healthier life, what do you think is going to happen when you get to that point of transformation? Of course, you're going to be able to stay there because you haven't done anything drastic in order to make that transformation. Actually, what you've done is you have left all of that behind and you have embraced this healthier way of living. Needless to say, the woman that I'm talking about is just, wow. She's on new levels now. Like her strength, the way that she performs. Of course, we got her back into the gym. That scare that she had, oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine. So she ended up hospitalised. It was like a really freak injury caused to her lower back. Again, going in doing these crazy plyometric sessions, which there's definitely a space for them, but it's not for everyone. And she's now doing competitions. She is thriving. She's thriving. I cannot describe it, but this point of recognition was huge for her. Purposeful living is another big value. Like just intentional living on purpose, making sure that your decisions and your behaviours and your habits and the choices that we make align with our goals. And this is why I think it's so important to maybe even write our goals down, or if you are part of a community, put them into the community, or if you do work with a coach, share them with your coach. Like give those goals some life, because along the way you are going to have to make decisions that feel uncomfortable and create boundaries, maybe with people or in certain environments that, again, they don't accommodate to everyone else's expectations. You might be expected to rock up on the night out and you're always the one that buys the shot, and you're always the one that stays out the latest, and you're always the one that can be relied upon to like get the kebab on the way home or whatever it is. And now you have decided that you don't want to show up in that way anymore, because guess what? It doesn't serve me. It actually leaves me feeling like crap all weekend. So although the night out is so much fun, one of my big values is being able to spend time energetically with my kids and my family over the weekends. And so the two things just can't coexist. And so following through on creating those boundaries, it's going to require you to live more intentionally and more purposefully, and really get behind aligning those decisions that you're making with the life that you want to go after. So much of what we do is to accommodate other people's expectations of us. I actually hear this a lot in the women that I work with, the expectations of our own parents and our own mothers a lot of the time. The amount of women that I work with whose mums continue to comment on their weight. If they lose weight, they don't want to be getting too skinny. If they've gained weight, do they need to be cutting down calories, get yourself back on Weight Watchers, or, you know, whatever that old school narrative is. And it's so the fear to do anything differently, because we know that we will be judged, we know it will be commented on. It keeps us stuck in our tracks, and it stops us from growing and living authentically. Community and connection, big one. Big value of thriving women, big value of mine personally as a coach, knowing again the impact of community and connection, knowing the struggle also that a lot of women, although we have the friends within the WhatsApp chats, we've got the girl groups going on, we just haven't found our people. And let me remind you, I know I've said this on a previous podcast, I'm sure I have, it's okay to outgrow the old version of you. It's healthy to outgrow a past version of yourself. And it's not to look back on that past version of you. I've outgrown Nick in her 20s and Nick in her 30s. There's no looking back with any regret or any negative feelings. I love those versions of me, but I am so evolved from those versions of me now. And it's uncomfortable, but it's healthy. It's part of growing and evolving. And especially if you are listening to this and you're a woman into your 40s, and we know that by hook or by crook, whether we want to accept it or whether or not we don't, we are going through changes in this decade of our life, massive changes that can impact our health, our physique. There's crazy stats in how it impacts our relationships and people's marriages, because we know the changes that occur to us hormonally. So if we're not willing to make those changes and those adaptations to our lifestyle and evolve and create those boundaries and protect our energy more so than we did before, then we are going to feel like it's a constant battle. And so I see this in the workplace with some of the more high performing women that I work with, who the expectation is another level in work. And so now, when it is needed to create boundaries and protect energy in order to deliver in the way that you always have in work, it feels so uncomfortable to do so, because we've been so accommodating and we've allowed our bandwidth to be stretched beyond belief for this whole entire time, that to now rein things in and claw back some time for ourselves, it's unaccepted. It's mad to me as well, because can you imagine if it was men going through these changes, or if it was men that wanted to create boundaries? Like, I'm sure that they would just, put it in place, follow through, and everybody would just respect, we really respect that these boundaries are being set. But when it comes to us setting boundaries, we feel that it's going to be met with disapproval and people thinking that we can't cope and we must have something else going on. And again, this community that I've built, it's to normalise the respect that I think we should have and do have for each other. I massively respect a woman who can draw a boundary. It actually really inspires me to be more firm with my boundaries, because I am definitely guilty of just allowing my battery to be drained on a daily, which is why I need to get my workouts in. This is why I'm such a big advocate for working out, ladies, because if there's one way that I know we can top up that battery level and get ourselves in green, particularly at the start of the day, it's with a good workout. I shared something on Instagram earlier this week about the messy middle part, and it's another part of the journey that I really would love to shed some light on and to normalise. And it's referred to as the gap, I think, sometimes. The messy middle, the part of the journey that you're in that you're not at your starting point. You've made progress, but you're not where you want to be yet. And I believe that the majority of us will forever be in the gap. And the reason for that is that the end goal, the point at which we're striving for, it will always keep moving on, because as we grow, as we evolve, as we get fitter, stronger, we achieve more, we have more energy, whatever it might be that the goal is, we'll always realise that so I've been putting limits on myself and I created this false ceiling, but now I've just pushed through that ceiling. Now I want to see what can happen if I get to the next limit and the next. And any women who've ever worked with me, and again, you've heard me say this before, some women I've worked with for years, because those ceilings continue to be met and then we reach for the next. And so we're always in this gap. But there's no talk about this. There's no talk about the messy middle and what it feels like. And actually being in the middle from your starting point to where you want to get to. It feels like self-doubt. It feels like you're not doing enough. It feels like you are stuck. It can feel like you're going backwards. It can feel like you are on top of the world. It can feel like you are smashing your goals. It can feel like you are checking all of the boxes. It is so much of everything all at once. That is the journey. I truly believe that that's where the transformation occurs. The transformation is not the after pic. We see the after pics on social media and it's glorified. And I share before and after photographs because ultimately I get it. Women want to see what is achievable, but actually what I would love to get across, and it's really hard to get across in an Instagram caption, is that the changes that this woman has gone through go way beyond the weight that she's lost. She is now changed careers, doing sports with her kids, getting in the water park. She's lifting heavier. She's increased her muscle mass. She no longer has migraines every day of the week. She is eating more than she was before. She's drawn boundaries around alcohol. She's built better friendships. She's let go of people who were negatively impacting her life. Whatever it is, I've seen all of these wins and more with the clients that I've worked with. But ultimately, the difference between the before and the after is this woman has built a lifestyle that allows her to thrive on a daily basis. And she understands how to sustain that. And that's empowering. That is empowering when you can actually take control back and not be relying on, the latest diet plan. Can someone just please tell me how to eat? Or, I get it. We need support. We need accountability. I work with coaches for myself. I always have, by the way. If there's one area that I have invested more money in than any other, it's self-development, coaching. Always speak about this. For me, it's priceless. But there's also this element of taking back your power and not needing to be told the specifics on what to do, what to eat, to understand what it takes to thrive and understand what that means for you. Because again, when we talk about can women have it all and all of these other, big debatable questions, if we're going to take stock and feel as though we've got it all, then we certainly have to be in the driver's seat when it comes to managing our health, our wellness, how we show up every day, our mental energy. And, I'm working with some women at the moment who, my gosh, on paper, they are on top of their game. They've got it all. And I'm sure there's lots of women who admire, and I admire, but they still choose to work with a coach because actually it's not enough to have all of these things on paper. We need, probably even more so, the accountability and the support for ourselves. Say this to clients who are postpartum, more so because I know I can speak from experience. During that phase, and postpartum, by the way, if you've had kids, it doesn't matter how old they are, you are postpartum. If you've had kids, life revolves around the kids and work and making sure the house is in order and all of these other jobs that we've got that honestly could keep us awake 24/7 and we'd probably still feel like there was jobs to be done. And so when you work with a coach or you even just get yourself inside of a community, you're giving yourself some support. You're giving yourself some, much needed accountability. And it's not that we can't, we have that saying, don't we, in our minds, I know what I need to do, so I just need to do it. But it's like, that is two very different things. And having the support and the accountability to get it done is very different. And I know that other women need this space and to feel heard, as I've said. So if this resonates with you, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yes, I am so ready to level up. I don't know where to start, but I know a good place would be to be surrounded by like-minded women. I know that phrase is very overused, like-minded women, but it really is, ladies. Like when we come together, it's powerful. I'll reflect on a little story, which I didn't intend to, but from a retreat that we done last year. And the first thing that we done, we held a bit of a circle, let's call it, and we just introduced ourselves. A little bit of an intro, a little bit of a why you're here. And I had no expectation for what that was going to go like. But the first woman to introduce herself got really emotional. The reason why she was at the retreat was because she just needed to unplug and take some time back for herself because she'd had one thing and another going on with her kids. And just as a mum, naturally, she was just feeling a bit anxious and a bit worried. And it was just impacting her physically, mentally, the decisions that she was making. She felt like she was losing a little bit of control. She was relying on food, alcohol, and one thing and another to, just help to soothe. And so she was just there to unplug. And that was it. It was a domino effect. Every woman around the room, I think, pretty much shed a tear because we're all carrying so much. And it was this first woman, very grateful for her, actually, because she gave everyone permission to be authentic. Like instantly, she was unapologetic. I am here for this. I am going through this. I'm struggling with this. I want to leave today feeling like this. That was it. She gave everyone else permission to truly speak on how they were really feeling and what was really going on and why they were really struggling. Like not because they've got no discipline, no willpower, none of that. Actually, it's because all of these other things have been happening and I've been carrying it and I've got no way to talk about it and I've got no support, really, when it comes down to my needs. And so, it's all of these little moments over the past 12 months or more where I've really sat back and thought, okay, this is not about me. It's so much bigger. I just am the woman that is going to facilitate this space. And let me say, I'm talking about sharing our struggles and normalizing the struggles. Absolutely. But I also want to be able to guide you on, okay, let's acknowledge that, let's talk it through, and let's level up, because we will never be as young as we are today. So let that sink in. If you're listening to this podcast, this is the youngest you will ever be on this very day today. It's not going to get any easier. Things aren't going to slow down. The pace of life is not going to change. We're not going to be any less busy. So how do we make it work? In spite of all of the different plates and bells and whistles and obligations, how do we make it work? How do we level up? How do we crack the nutshell so that we get to your true potential? Because it's in there, because we've all got it. We've all got this ability inside of us to level up. I would say 10x. We've all got the ability to move well through exercise. Maybe it'll take some mobility or whatever else. People listening to this will be thinking, well, it's easy for you to say, Nick. You have got it in you. It starts with your self-belief. It then starts on that first action step. Okay, I'm going to put myself in an uncomfortable position and I'm going to get around women who are going to encourage me to level up, because I'm going to be positively surrounded by women who are encouraging me to follow through on what I've said I'm going to do. They're going to hear my struggles and help offer me some support and advice. But ultimately, we've got to take responsibility for raising our own standards, and it ain't going to get any easier, ladies. It is not going to get any easier. So the community is Thriving Women. I'm going to put the link in the bio. The plans for resources and live events and live Zoom calls and all the other good stuff, if you're on the email list, you'll have already heard me talk about all of this, will all be inside of the community. And again, it will just be built upon over the next couple of months. It will be continued to be built upon. It is going to be another app on your phone. I'm going to say that. How many apps have we got that cost us money or that are just there for, scroll or to make online shopping a little bit easier? This is an app to support your well-being. So I get it. It just feels like, it's an extra thing that I've got to open and check in on. And it's screen time. There's no sugarcoating that. But, have it open on your desktop, maybe. Check in during the day. Leave a comment, share a win. Make use of the resources. Make use of the habit tracker. Make use of the non-negotiables. Make use of the recipes, of the mindset tips. Make yourself a project is what I would say. Amongst everything else, it is doable. It's doable to invest time, energy, thought process into ourselves. So I will leave us on this note. What is the one standard that you are willing to raise this week, or that you are capable, or that you want to raise and level up this week? It might be an awkward conversation. It might be a boundary that you need to set. It might be a discipline that you need to put in place around your nutrition or around your workouts or around your general movement. But there are levels, ladies, and we are not even scratching the surface of what we're capable of. And it is time for that to change, because this is it. This is our one shot at living to our full potential. And so we need to make the most of it. So start with one standard that you can raise this week. Get it in your diary, set it as a reminder on your phone, stick it on the fridge, communicate it with the family or the rest of the household, put it out there, make it real, stay accountable to it. If it doesn't feel easy, good. That means it's certainly going to be worth it. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below, drop me a DM. I'm hoping that you've enjoyed this episode, and thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for continuing to subscribe, to share, to send me your comments. If you are not yet already a part of Thriving Women, and that's exactly what you want for yourself, head over to the community, request to join. You'll find all of the good stuff inside, and I will look forward to welcoming you inside of the community. Thanks, ladies.